people watching. Hi, we are Shannon and Kirsten, and we are both language bloggers, podcasters, and learners in our own rights. We will be joined, hopefully, by Lindsay Williams, who is currently traveling the world and trying to get internet in a cafe, I think.
Oh, no.
So once Lindsay joins us, there's going to be three of us, and the three of us are talking to you today because we are organizing something to invite you to, a new online event inspired by the Language Learning Summit, inspired by Langfest, inspired by the Polyglot Gathering, the Polyglot Conference, WorldPass, the vast amount of events that are currently happening in the language learning space. And we attended quite a few of them ourselves. Shannon, we met at one last year, didn't we?
Yes. Yeah.
So we want to talk to you today about an event that is happening in 2 weeks. And it's our first, with us and Lindsay, who is going to join us. It is our first sort of project together, putting on an online live event. And I think we are going to outdo ourselves, and really we are hoping to really impress you. Our event will be only 4 days long with a pretty busy schedule, so we try to make it similar to a conference that you would attend in person, so that you can really get that buzz out of being live. And it's called Women in Language, and I'll give you a little bit of the origin story, or perhaps Shannon, you'd like to talk to the origins of Women in Language.
Sure. So with Women in Language, what we wanted to do is we wanted to give people who haven't been invited to many events in the past the opportunity to speak, to share their experience, to share their expertise. And so we have 4 different tracks. We have learning new languages, mastering the languages that you've already worked with, living in languages, and working in languages. And so we've invited 25 more than 25
27
women to speak on their experience with these different aspects of being involved in languages. And Kirsten, Lindsay, and I aren't actually speaking. We are moderating, so we will be involved and be a part of the discussion, but we really wanted to highlight several other speakers who haven't been able to be a part of the conversation, and give them the chance to share what they're doing. We have everything from more academic topics. We have a couple of professors coming in, like university professors, as well as teachers who work less traditionally, I would say. And so they have different experiences to share as well. We have people who are what you would deem a polyglot, like Judith Meyer coming in. We have translators coming to talk about what they do. We have people who are talking about how you can use languages to make the world a better place. And one of the other things that I think is really important with this event is that we're also giving back. So 10% of all of the ticket sales, they go to Kiva, which is an organization that supports entrepreneurs around the world. And so that's also another thing that I think is a little bit different than some of the other events. I know some of the other events do work with charities as well, but that's something that we wanted to really do when in creating Women in Language. Kirsten, do you have anything you want to
add? The reason I think because it's what stands out at our event is that we put in an all-female lineup, and that wasn't a coincidence. We did decide to do that. The thing that we noticed in being polyglots, for lack of a better word, ourselves, and being sort of out there, is that often in the media there tends to be the perception that, I mean, I have really heard this, men are the better language learners. Hey, Lindsay Dow Williams, I still do it. And it seemed weird to us that this perspective was out there, and there's so many public-facing males, the majority of sort of experts that are currently in the media on language learning. A lot of them are male, and women seem to be out there doing all this interesting stuff, but not necessarily always getting quite the stage time. And so we thought, you know what, let's make an all-female stage. And it's weird because Lindsay came to me, or Lindsay mentioned in a conversation that we had that, oh, I've been thinking about maybe we could do something for International Women's Day. It could be an event of all women, something. And I was like, oh my God, this is exactly, like, I had the same idea. which was so great. And she said the best words she could have said, which was, let's do it. And that's where we started. So we're running from International Women's Day, the 8th of March, to, turns out, British Mother's Day, the 11th of March. And this all-female lineup, not just as Shannon has debated, as shown us, gives us this sort of massive breadth of people, women who are passionate about languages, who talk about their passions. I feel like it's also beginning to free up these great spaces to talk about topics that really matter to our agenda, that I've never seen discussed anywhere else. And it sort of came up organically. And now we have talks about motherhood and teaching kids, and those are often considered sort of more female topics, which are not usually showcased. And I, for one, can't wait to see those talks. We're also putting in 2 roundtable discussions where we actively kind of go that way and talk about the world for men and the world for women. So this is going to be an interesting one, no matter if you are female or male, I think. And definitely we are inviting everybody to attend. So it's been a really wonderful thing to organize. Lindsay, do you want to talk a bit more about what to expect, if we can hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Hey, excellent. Technology never fails. So yeah, what to expect. So as you've said, we've got over 25 speakers, all female speakers, but everyone is welcome to attend. In fact, encouraged to attend. You know, we need this to be more than just a female-only event in terms of attendees as well. I think that's really important. You know, it's not just about like a girls' club. It's about showcasing what women are doing in language. So there's over 25 talks. That includes 2 roundtables as well, which is really exciting. Actually, they've again evolved quite organically into these really interesting discussions one about focused on learning to one focused on earning. So if you're more on the learning side of languages, that's going to interest you. We're going to talk about things like, do women and men actually learn differently, and if so, how, and how can we kind of learn from each other as well. And then with the earning side of things, we want to discuss and look at topics such as pay gaps and how you can kind of gain more kind of confidence within the workplace if you're struggling with that as well. So it's going to be a really interesting event. And over the 4 days, the talks are ranging, I think it's about 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. GMT. Is that the time span we've got going on? I think that's right. And
we're covering across the world, as well as we possibly can.
We've done our best to get like a good range of awake time from like Australia to LA, sort of as far as we can go. So yeah, it's very exciting. And as well as the talks, if obviously 4 days just sat at a computer, as exciting as that would be, listening to all these amazing talks live, not always going to be possible. So you will get recordings of them. You'll also get your digital notebook, which is, you can either I say digital because you can type onto it directly on your computer, or you can still print it off, traditional style, of course. And that's just going to give you a place where you can keep track of everything you learn in each presentation, and the calendar as well. So you can put that on your wall so you never miss your favorite one. And then as well as that, we're going to give you access to the secret Facebook group for attendees, for some speakers, and for us, the hosts as well. We're in there from now, and during the event, and 6 weeks after the event as well. So if there's any kind of questions when you've had a chance to catch up on everything and you think, I just want to ask so-and-so about that a bit more, you can do that. So Facebook group will be there for 6 weeks after the event as well. Oh, and it's really important that we mention this. 10% of profit goes to Kiva, which is a charity that supports budding entrepreneurs all around the world. So that's a really exciting. And Kirsten, like you were saying when I first mentioned this to you, I remember that was one of the very first things I mentioned was, I want this to be something that promotes good as well, and so we're really excited about that and about the opportunity as well. So I think that's,
there's one more thing,
covers everything. Oh yeah,
we've got the raffle as well. So when you purchase a ticket, you're also entered into a raffle to get tons of great language learning prizes. We have everything from Lindsay's solo language learner planner, my Language Accelerator Lite, Kirsten's gift voucher that you can use at her Fluent Language School. We have a 6-month membership to Link. We also have German Uncovered from I Will Teach You a Language, easy language guides, all 6 of them in Conversation Countdown from Fluent in 3 months. There's flash sticks. We have all sorts of prizes that we're going to be giving away as part of the raffle, and you're automatically entered into that with your ticket purchase, so you qualify for that if you join the event.
We have even got, just while we were waiting to go live, we've convinced Paulino to throw in a prize. So for the last 3 weeks, it's been a lot of outreach and a lot of sort of reaching out to our friends in this sort of language learning space, this language learning business, to try and bring in something extra for you guys. And if you do attend, we really want to, we want to give back to the people who are watching. And I, for one, I have been, I don't know, I wanted to ask, I'll just ask my co-presenters if you guys, like what you've enjoyed the most so far about putting this together. For me, it has definitely been, I got the privilege of putting the program together. And that really was a privilege. I've really had so much fun just talking to everybody and finding out what they want to talk about. And it is incredibly rewarding job, managing 27 people. But also just the excitement that we've so far seen from the people who are joining us.
I would say that is it for me. It's the reaction so far. I mean, It's been fascinating. Both like I don't want to bring a Debbie Downer on here, but both the sort of positive and negative reaction. There's been some negative reaction that's made me really sort of, I wasn't expecting that. And so that's been really interesting as well, to kind of have these conversations with people, and to try and explain why this event matters. And then to see people turn around on that as well and be like, okay, actually, I understand now and I realize why this is important. That's good. And because I think that's been something that we've all felt, is that we want this to be something that has a very positive, almost ripple effect across this whole space. And, I'm not just talking about more female speakers at events, because we know and love all the hosts of other like language events, and they do an amazing job. And it's not in any way to talk about that, but just to encourage females themselves to put themselves forward to speak at events, or to put themselves forward on the internet and say, here's how I learn languages, and I want to kind of be more public facing, and I want to share that. And so I think that's been really, to me, the most exciting thing so far, is to see that reaction, and that especially the positive thing. Obviously, that's more much more nice than the negative. But to see the negative as well kind of change, and to see people go from like, wait a minute, what is this? What if there was a men in language event? And then to actually say, okay, now I understand, has been a really nice, unexpected twist.
For me,
How
it's
about you,
been
Shannon?
twofold. It's also been the reactions, of course. I think that's just been amazing, because I think there's a lot of people who feel kind of empowered by what we're putting together. And that's been really great to see. The other thing is just bringing a different perspective and a different conversations, to the forefront. I think that there's a lot of things, like you said, that are going to be spoken about at the event that are traditionally seen as women's issues, but I don't think they're really women issues. I think they're human issues. And, you talk about motherhood, or raising multilingual children, or, balancing learning languages with a career and being a parent. And this isn't like, typically this has normally been seen as something that a woman has to deal with, but it's something that both people have to deal with, both parents, both sides. And so I think
2 genders to make a baby, right?
Exactly, right? So, and not just the parenthood thing, but other aspects of it, because, even in discussing things that may relate directly to being female, like harassment when finding language exchange partners, or, what's appropriate for a woman in the workplace and what's appropriate for a man in the workplace, talking about those things from a woman's perspective, and then having men hear that, they can also learn from that, saying, oh, maybe I have been doing that and I didn't realize it, or, oh, maybe I do need to support this more because, this affects me too, or, I am a parent too, and this is a situation that I deal with. And because, it's most, people kind of out there, they talk about the nomadic single lifestyle, traveling around all the time, which we do too as women. I mean, Lindsay and I both travel a ton. Kirsten, you travel as well. And, it just, a new perspective and a new angle on the conversation, I think just benefits everybody across the board. And being a part of putting that together has just been really exciting for me.
Absolutely. It's been, and in a way, it's great to be talking about it at the Language Learning Summit, because I think Paulina has to me is really pioneering again this sort of diversity in the debates that we're bringing, you know, with the yo no puedo decirlo en español, I can't say it in Spanish properly. But you know, with the various different conferencias that he's putting together in Spanish, and that is so cool, and really shows us that there is there are many ways of talking about language learning. But what Shannon said is very true, and some of our speakers, I sort of did a lot of pre-chat with them, you know, to kind of help people determine their topics. And both what Shannon said and what Lindsay said, I see reflected in our speakers. Number one, that a lot of some women really need encouragement. I mean, some men too, you know. So all of us, you know, come to me. I'll tell you you're awesome. But really, so there were people looking for their topic and saying, well, I don't know if this will add value. I don't know if this is interesting enough. I want it to be good enough. Where is good enough? And I think as a female in particular, we spend a lot of time wondering where good enough is. So that was something that I saw reflected, and really to give this platform, if we can take the comparison with like a superstar away just this one time, that's really encouraging. And what Shannon was saying about the nomadic lifestyle, again, I'm seeing that in what we're putting in, and in the way that different worldviews can be reflected and different kind of lifestyles can be reflected in language learning. It's the same as, you know, like the question, are there any older polyglots? Are there any female polyglots? And the answer is like, on both counts, like, no, yeah. So we just want to see them, you know. Watch out for my old people polyglot conference. So I don't know, like, do we have anything extra that we want to talk about in terms of the event?
I think that just as a general thing, like with what Paulina's doing and putting together a Spanish event, and what we're doing with putting together an event with women speakers, is just, you're adding to the conversation, you're adding new voices, you're adding a new perspective, you're adding a little bit more diversity. And I think that everyone can kind of benefit from that, because, you know, as a language learner, we get stuck. We struggle with getting through certain milestones. We have plateaus. We have all these things that we go through. And sometimes hearing about them in a different way, or from a different person, or from a different set of experiences, gets us over those hurdles. Mm-hmm. And so I think that, you know, just having more voices, having, you know, new perspectives added to the conversation can only be beneficial for everyone. And so I hope you guys will consider coming to our event if you aren't already registered. I think that it's going to be a ton of fun. There's going to be a lot of great discussion and dialogue going on as a part of it, and we would love to have you there.
Great. And I think you mentioned it before, but I just posted in the chat, and it's also on the Language Learning Summit page for Women in Language. womeninlanguage.com, the place to go to get more information, to register. I really appreciate that you three took time of your busy schedule to be here at the Language Learning Summit, where I do appreciate diversity, and I'm so excited that you are bringing this on to us. You know, one of the things that I was looking for at the Language Learning Summit is actually not diversity in all different aspects. I have 40 women presenters, but also I was looking at people who presented for the first time and people who have 30 years of experience. We can all learn from each other, because language is not one thing set in stone. We all have our different perspective. So I'm really excited and glad that you're adding this your perspective to this huge conversation. Anything else you want to add for our audience?
A huge thank you to you, Paulina, for letting us come and speak about our conference today. Definitely.
No problem. Well, thank you very much for being here with us today. And I'll see you around at the Women in Language conference. Everyone, go and check it out, womeninlanguage.com. And maybe I'll see you three again at the next Language Learning Summit or during the Women in Language conference.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.